Hey guys, Youthful Yields here. Today we're going to be going over my portfolio for the week. So starting off, we have a look at the S&P 500 for the last week. You can see here that it's pretty green, I'd say. Good recovery from the week prior to that. There's a few companies here that have taken quite a hit. You can see Eli Lilly down 18%, which is quite a bit, and I actually have some of that. We can also see some other ones, ETN, Airbnb, yeah, some of these. And a large part of this, I think, has to do with earnings. So, yeah, overall, not too bad. Starting off with the Webull portfolio, I'll go back over here. So I can see here that for the total portfolio, we're up just behind, well, not just behind, we're up for the week. You can see on M1 Finance, we're up about 0.88%. On Webull, we're down about 12%, but again, that doesn't really matter a whole lot. It just fluctuates quite a bit. And you can see that in the annualized volatility down here. We have, and then Composer up 3.85%, so quite a bit there. To make an overall 1.28% compared to 270 or 247. A lot of the company, or I think a lot of the reason why, as you can see, the M1 Finance lagged quite a bit behind the S&P 500, and that's just solely because of the earnings from a lot of the companies that we're in. So if we take a look at Webull, we're at 182. We take a look at M1 Finance, we're at 17,302. And let's go into here. We can see here. So technology was the highest this week, with the most being from Apple, and Microsoft just barely, losing some, but 13% up on Apple, which is very nice. Google as well, 6.5%. Semiconductors, NVIDIA 5.17%, AMD up 0.62%. Now they had a big tank in price from earnings, but despite that, we're still up quite a bit. And AVGO 5.66. A lot of these two companies basically just rebounded. I'm pretty sure they lost a lot of their value because of AMD, but it rebounded quite a bit. Consumer discretionary, most honestly pretty even across the board. Home Depot, Amazon, and Costco all up around 3%. Amazon and Home Depot being closer to 4%. Now, in terms of the worst ones, obviously I brought Eli Lilly into the equation not too long, or and also Vertex, both down quite a bit. Vertex actually down more, so about 21% there, and Eli Lilly down 18%. And we'll see that on the holdings page in a minute. ABV or ABV are actually up 1.4%, which is good. And then energy, we have here the biggest loss there was from ExxonMobil earnings as well. So there's that. And then last but not least, real estate, we had AMT earnings as well. So a lot of earnings here, but I'd imagine a lot of these are going to bounce back. Some of the ones that I'm a little bit worried about are the healthcare. Healthcare is honestly notorious for, once you have like something like that, it can honestly kill your company. So, well, I'm really hoping that's not the case. It's just really hard to find good healthcare companies, in my opinion. But I also want to be diversified. I realize that they're not always going to be up. They're not very, they're not up. They're not always up, companies. If you look at some of them for the last 5 years, it's not always up. But checking if we have any dividends since the third. We do. We had two. We had MasterCard and Deere and Company. So we had 66 and 138 there. That's pretty nice. And now moving into the holdings as well. We're up AMD 65% still, despite the last week of earnings being down. NVIDIA, we're up 51%. ABGO, we're up 46%. And then the worst ones, Eli Lilly, Vertex, obviously I touched base on those. Those are down around 18% each. And then we are also down about 4% on Visa. ExxonMobil were about 2.5%, and that was and AMD. These are both actually from the earnings. And Prologis and Shell. Honestly, all of the ones here are probably gonna be up not too long. I mean, especially something like Honey. But these two, I'm kind of worried about because I don't want these to go to zero. I know Eli Lilly is nowhere near that. Vertex is not a company that I am super familiar with. It's just one of the companies that I thought was just doing decent in the space. If you take a look at their like last 5-year chart, you can see it's pretty decent actually, 34%. And Eli Lilly is even crazier. In the last 5 years, obviously, it's had quite a bit of growth, 333%. And then last but not least, yeah, that's about it. Procter and Gamble, I'm honestly been surprised. Pretty much the entire time we've held this, it's been kind of down, and I think this has also had a pretty bad earnings. So I don't know, but overall, I mean, we're actually up about $1,400, which is about 9%, which is pretty good. In the broad scheme of things, it's pretty good because I think these all were purchased initially, a very small percentage of my portfolio at the time, but March 10th. So it hasn't even been 6 months yet, and we're already up 9%, which is pretty nice. Something I do wish they kind of had was like unrealized gain over time. That'd be kind of cool. Something, I guess technically they do have that with, this chart, but it would be around here onwards. So the problem with this chart is it shows your contributions. So, jumps like this one, this one, this one are all from my contributions every month. So it's kind of annoying, but last but not least, we had composers. So if I go back to the 3rd real quick, the 3rd of August 2025. Excuse me. We can see here all the portfolios were up. The biggest growth there was from the Avenue, this portfolio here, or this symphony here. This one also had the biggest loss to the week before that. So if you go back to the 27th, you can see here that it was the one that fell the most. This is I think this is one of the most volatile in the bunch in terms of just from back tests. So there's that. But overall, we're up, and we're getting up there, back up to the break-even point. I feel pretty confident in all of these strategies still. All of the tests that I've ran and I'm currently running hold still pretty true. I'll pull up what I showed last week, but I think that was last week, or maybe the week before that. But give me one sec. So we can open up in this tool called Maestro. So that's pretty cool. So we have all of our strategies here. And then if we go to the metrics here, we can see that with an equal weight, which is what we have, they just from the back test, that's 162% annualized return with a max drawdown of about 6%, volatility of about 18%, and yeah, Sorrentino and Sharp there, and so on and so forth. So pretty decent. Forgot, I don't think he has Spy on here, but I don't think, this is honestly pretty good. This is one of the best. I did a lot of testing through different portfolios, and this is one of the best. This also has like a pretty good correlation matrix. There is a few in here that about 0.6 and 0.2, which is decent. So there's that. We can also see the correlation during drawdown is pretty similar as well. And I have some other stats here as well. But overall, I'm still pretty confident in the portfolio. Since we have been invested in it, which I want to say, let's do all time. It was here July 28th. All right, so since then, I think the largest drawdown would have been. I think I can say total portfolio. Ah, yeah, I don't know, man. They keep switching this stuff around. I just don't know if it's working correctly. You can see that it's clearly doesn't seem like it is. Because I don't know if that red one is from this other way. Anyways, my point is, yeah, clearly the total portfolio is broken. I don't think we've hit that 7%, but I'm not quite sure. So overall, we're still in the green. But anyhow, I'm gonna keep going with these strategies. I think they're performing well. Um, they're on their way back up. So not a lot of strategies last week did well, anyways. But it's not really a matter of one look, look at 1 week, but rather multiple weeks combined. So if we come down here, there's actually only one strategy that is positive at the moment, and that is the Avenue. That was up 2.14% on Friday. But some of them are close. There's the lowest one in terms of off of deposits would be Composer. Despite it being called maybe overfit, from my findings, it's actually not. Although the one thing that I am a little bit skeptical about here is there's a few companies in here that are single stocks, which I'm not really a fan of, such as you can see here, Eli Lilly, and whatnot. But it's only 21 different tickers, which is honestly not too bad. But that doesn't mean a whole lot. It just means that this strategy might work well now, and it might work well in the last, let's say, 5 years, and that's just due to the companies that it picked being traded well. But from what the tests I've ran, they honestly doesn't seem to be overfit, which is kind of surprising and funny given the name. There's some other ones here that like have a lot more holdings. Like this one has 42. This one has 100. Uh, This one has 74, and then this one has 77. So overall, we're in quite a bit of funds, but I prefer mostly if we were in ETF based stuff over just plain old, you know, single stocks. But anyhow, that is it for me, guys. Not too bad, I'd say. We're dipping a little bit behind on some of our portfolios, but I think we'll eventually get there. You can see here, actually, our win rate on Composer is the lowest. It used to be the highest, but we have switched our strategies and whatnot, so there's a lot of timing there and whatnot. But overall, it's had the most total return since the 23rd, and that's technically not even the best new number. It'd be the 28th of July, and then also CAGR is also the highest. So you can see, despite that, like obviously the sharp ratio on SPY and M1 Finance, really it's just like a copycat SPY, just more growth focused, are really high. Same with some of the other metrics, but you can see my own metric here, which is PPPM, which basically takes annualized return. Also takes account in max drawdown as well as annualized volatility. And this is performing the best. So, there's that, but that doesn't really mean a whole lot. This is only about a third of our portfolio, or sorry, a quarter of our portfolio at the moment, anyways. We put only $500 in it every single month out of our 2,000 that we totally allocate total. So, anyhow, guys, that is it for me. And as always, I wish you guys a wealthy future.